Hey, what's up everybody? Finally back from the Northwoods and plenty to cover. We're going to be talking about how Team Liquid finally picked up a team in Rocket League and how Fruity has joined the former roster from Mouse. Looks like Chicago is going to be moving back to the team house for G2, and Salt Mine 2 has officially concluded. Again, as always, if you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you guys support all the other social media channels which can be found in the description down below. And if you guys like the video, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up as well as hit subscribe and turn on all the sub notifications to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the daily Rocket League content. But without further ado, let's get into the action. So first things up, Team Liquid, a long-standing org that has been around since the 2000s, is officially in Rocket League. Not only do they pick up the former Mouse squad in Speed and Kuxir, but they also announced their new third, which is going to be Fruity. We got a taste of Fruity in the Euro Cup put on by Lethmere a little bit over a month ago, and I'm really happy about this roster. There's something that Fruity brings to this offense that really excites me for how easy it is to actually anticipate what he's going to do. He's very direct in his approach, and it makes it simple for Speed to follow up as well as Kuxir to support it. But it's the first time that I've actually seen Mouse have a consistent offense in a very long time, and part of it is actually due to Fruity's involvement. Not only is he usually the first to lead the charge or the one to apply the pressure or initiate the challenges, on his rotations back through, he actually does a really good job of demoing the third man or the person that's kind of next in line to receive the rotation from the other team, which completely disrupts everything that they're trying to accomplish and allows them to sustain offense or get out of defense relatively easy. Team also does a really good job of clearing the ball when they are under a lot of pressure, something that they had a lot of difficulties with in the past with Scrub Killers. So I'm actually really excited about the way this roster is moving and the way that they're going to be focused, but even more so that they have a fantastic facility and everything else in the backing of Team Liquid along with it. In a sub-tweet from that post, Team Liquid also talks about how they're, quote, shifting into high gear and entering Rocket League, where they go over kind of an introduction into the scene and things that they've been looking to do and how Rocket League as a title has kind of got to where it is. But most importantly, put a lot of focus on the players and kind of give a background. They end up asking all the players 4 different questions about how they would describe themselves, what their future goals are, their ambitions, and everything else with that as well. So kind of a cool way to see some stuff that kind of motivates the players as well as put the emphasis on the players rather than the organization. Those that don't know why this is a big deal, Team Liquid has actually been around since the 2000s with involvement in roughly 10 to 15 different esports titles. Very, very familiar with the space. The fact that they have 2 decades of experience in esports is a really exciting thing in a scene that definitely needs a little bit more professionalism, in my opinion. I'm hoping that the expertise that Team Liquid provides was going to really help elevate this roster to new levels. I know for players like Fruity, who are a little bit more on the older side, that have always been kind of understanding that they need to grind and kind of put everything forward because they know it's not going to last forever. Something like Team Liquid is going to allow them to elevate their play, as well as with facilities. Like they have an Alienware training facility that, if you guys haven't checked out, there is a YouTube video on it where they kind of showcase the studio. There's a lot of cool things that this team brings that's going to allow these guys to boot camp and play at the highest of their levels. So overall, I'm excited for the players, the fact that they found a new home, that they're going to be taken care of financially, and the fact that moving forward when it comes to big events, when those do end up continuing, they're going to have a place to boot camp, and there's going to be a lot of exciting things that this organization will hopefully do, as there is quite a bit of focus on content out of the Team Liquid team. As of right now, their home base is in the Netherlands, but they do have offices for the League Legends CSGO team in the United States as well. More details about the post can be found in the description down below if you'd like to read up a little bit more on those articles. Again, if you guys want to stay up to date, I do have that roster document. If you go into my Twitch chat and type !RLCS rosters, or a link can be found down in the description, has the updates with all the hyperlinks to these announcements. But again, the big one is the fact that they've announced Fruity as their official third, so we no longer have to play the guessing game of where Fruity is going to end up or deal with any of the rumors, which is always an exciting thing. Tweet put out in the middle of the afternoon yesterday, Chicago also stated that he is going to be going back to the team house and getting East Coast ping. If you guys are unaware, Chicago lives on the West Coast, and ping has always been in the high 80s for him. And after being in the team house, G2 hasn't exactly looked the best. And I don't know if that's just because they took a little bit of an extended break with Rizzo and JNaps or what's going on, but I can only say that it is beneficial, and we have actually seen the benefits to the entire G2 squad being in that house in a local environment with everybody being able to communicate a little bit more effectively. So I'm excited to see what this does. I hope we get to see G2 of the past, where they're dominating every single event, whether it be online or offline, because of that, I guess, localization that they had. Either way, I'm not sure the exact reason why they've been in this slump, but a lot of people are recognizing it, and I'm hoping that this will be the fix, because I love to see more competitive play and people be able to compete at the top. Either way, Chicago being on East Coast ping is always a benefit, as that is one less factor that is in their way of being successful. Also, all wrapped up is the Salt Mine 2 event. Something that lasted over 2 weeks between NA and EU has finally come to a close, and a lot of really good matches. I think the big one that a lot of people are paying attention to is the fact that in the grand finals, we did get to see Ocalid and Yours come down and battle, which goes the absolute distance. Obviously, a lot of controversy in that upper semifinals with Ocalid and Astral, where Khaled ended up winning in that one. Astral was able to bounce back through Dead Monster, where he went on to play Yours, where Yours ended up winning pretty convincingly. But again, with 1v1s, a lot of these games are always super nail-biting. So if you are fans of any of these particular players, I recommend what you can do is on any of these, if you click the eye, it'll have a link to the specific game in this kind of info box with all the results. I recommend click on that and go and rewatch. I don't want to spoil any of the information, and quite honestly, I didn't get around to watch a lot of this because I've been busy with some other stuff. From what I've heard, the grand final was an absolute nail-biter, extremely back and forth, a phenomenal 1v1 series, which is nothing new. Most high-level ones are almost always super exciting, and there's a lot on the line between these guys, but congratulations, Ocalid proves that he is still a very talented ones player, and that Dignitas, what is supposed to be their full pickup, we don't know if Yours is official or not, or what's going to be happening with that, but it is looking more and more likely. But it seems like he can hold his own against some of the best 1v1 players in the world and takes the title for Europe. Over on the North American side, ended up finishing with First Killer and Mile. Nice thing about this is if you guys ever watching Fusion, a lot of these names should feel pretty familiar to you. And a big one that got a lot of criticism was actually Mile in Fusion, and how his performance wasn't as impactful as G2 fans would have hoped it had been. But here, when he plays in a 1v1, he actually has really good performances with 2 3-0s in his first in the upper bracket, and then ends up going all the way to the finals without dropping anything. So Mile performs really, really well, but when it comes to First Killer's playstyle continues to be a nuisance with a clean sweep over Mile, and a lot of people said it didn't really feel close. It just goes to show there is a lot of mix-up when it comes to 1v1s, and that playstyles don't always translate from 1-to-1. Case in point, I mean, Kinsey ended up getting swept by Mile, and First Killer, when he plays Kinsey, ends up going the distance. So there's a lot of different things about these plays, and they don't exactly correlate 1-to-1, which is kind of the exciting thing. Is it does a lot of the times come down to how they're playing on that day and stylistically who works. But I know First Killer as a general player does have this really annoying play style where he focuses a lot on playing the player rather than the ball. He has this spatial awareness of knowing that the ball may be going towards my net, but I don't need to play it because I have the ability to bully this other player and then go for it afterwards, which allows me to maintain possession. Even though it's a riskier play, the fact that he has that confidence to go for that is always something that I'll be really excited about. But again, a lot of these players are just stupid talented, and it depends on how they're feeling that day, whether they want to go the crazy flip resets or the ceiling shots, or if they want to do more of the ground game with power shots or whatever it is. It is a chess game in the fullest extent, and it goes to show that once again is a very exciting game mode, and credit to Johnny Boy for continuing to put on these events, this time in partnership with Sonics having the funding. Now, before I get into the top comment, I just want to say that this top comment is a little bit different because it is more so focused on just good conversation and good discussion rather than the actual top comment. I gotta say the top comment from the last video was actually a plethora of you guys actually talking about how the hate is unjustified and how you like the fact that I spoke up and said something about it. So again, I'm glad that we're harboring a good community here, and I want to say that I appreciate you guys talking about the positivity and focusing on the right things rather than coming out and saying hateful things and doubling down on it. So again, appreciate all the support. Make sure that you guys, if you do see that stuff, do the best of your abilities to make sure it isn't happening and that you speak up rather than just not being a part of it. Recently, with all the issues with obviously Black Lives Matter and COVID and all the sexual harassment things that are coming out in esports, it is not enough to just not be a part of the problem. We need to actively make sure that we are stopping it from happening. So again, I encourage you guys, if you do see that stuff happening, make sure you're vocal, make sure you tell people to stop, because we have to do it the best of our abilities. With that said, probably the best conversation topic for comments is going to be from KXI, where they ask, why do Rocket League teams always have so many roster changes? It just feels so unprofessional when it's happening so much of the time. So this one's actually a lot to do with the age group and the demographic that comes into Rocket League in the pro scene. Rocket League is at a core a very young demographic. A lot of the pros are able to start at 15 at the youngest age, where other esports usually try to wait till at least 17. I know it's that for League of Legends, and a lot of the other games like Counter-Strike, you have to be at least 18. And there's kind of pros and cons to each. I think a lot of the decision came through very early, where it was because Scrub Killer being as strong as he was, they didn't want to make him wait an additional 2-3 years before he could compete. So where they could bring in, I guess, the talent with the most potential, rather than making them wait and then possibly be no longer interested multiple years down the road. Because of that, there's a couple of issues with the way that Psyonix functions with the esports scene. Inherently, the esports scene is dictated where Psyonix would prefer ultimately to work one-on-one with the players and leave the orgs kind of as a third party watching from the outside. Because of that, there is most definitely a lack of professionalism, and a lot of videos that I've talked about in the past about how what esports franchising is and going to a circuit style and everything like that, and I'll try to leave a link of that up top. But a lot of the focus is actually because they are working directly with the players. A lot of these players ultimately are children. They are kids. They don't have a business sense. They don't know how to get over petty drama. They talk and have issues with a lot of stupid stuff that just normally wouldn't be put up with. And because of that, a lot of issues as to why these rosters change so much is because of that. Not saying it's the only reason, I'll talk about more in a sec here, but a lot of the reason why is because most teams breaking up, it's due to mentality issues, lack of motivation, players that just don't get along. A lot of these petty, stupid issues that normally wouldn't be a problem for most adults tends to affect a lot of these players that are still trying to develop who they want to be as people, and they're forced into a situation where there's a ton of eyes on them, they're forced to grow up very quickly, and not everybody can mature at that rate. So that is a lot of the reason why you see a lot of roster changes happen so frequently, and a lot of it just stems from the fact that because they're kids, they're very young, and there's a lot of drama and immaturity just altogether. And that's not to put any blame on any of the players, it's just their age that is intrinsic to what they're going through. They haven't had time to grow and mature and develop yet as proper adults. The other side to it is because the seasons used to be so short, and I'm hoping the circuit system actually fixes this, because teams aren't going to be allowed to make changes as often, and rosters aren't going to be allowed to change as often, and the fact that points are accumulated towards this new circuit system in the new format, teams are genuinely going to have to be forced to stay together for longer periods of time, and a lot of this petty, like, you're going to have to learn to deal with it because you're not going to have a choice. Otherwise, you forfeit your points and forfeit out your spot. You're not going to just have to wait 3-4 months and then you can make another roster change. These teams are going to have to actively learn to get better and deal with their issues and grow as a team, which I hope in time will actually make them stronger. It always seems to be easier and a shorter fix by literally just being like, you know what, this player's performing the least, we don't like him that much, whatever the reason. So they just pick up the new hot commodity off of RLRS and plug him in and we continue. But now it's going to be a little bit different because of the trade windows that are coming with the circuit system. You can't just change your roster every 3 to 5 months. It just won't happen, and it can't happen. So I think there is some benefits that are going to be coming in the future where I do agree it does feel very unprofessional and there's a lot of problems with it. But at the same time, I don't feel like the teams have the professionalism behind them in the first place. A lot of these rosters are very hands-off. Yes, they provide salary from the orgs, but it doesn't feel like they have the infrastructure or the staffing to really be on these kids' cases to make sure that they are the way they are. But if you look at some of the long-term standing rosters, a lot of the reason why they are successful is because they have good org backing and they have the ability to handle these situations not in the public light. I mean, case in point, you look at Cloud9 that just released their roster. Look at the social media post they put out. It was very simple. It was just said, hey, thank you for your accomplishments. We achieved a lot together. You guys are awesome, and I wish you the best. There's no petty drama. There's no additional details because honestly, it doesn't matter. It's not up for us as the public to know the nitty-gritty behind the scene details. It is up to those players, that staff, and the people that are directly involved with it. And yes, we can speculate as to why the reasons are, but that's all it is. It's speculation. The players don't have to care about that. The organization doesn't have to care about that. But that level of professionalism should come as more and more people become involved and a little bit more structure and professionalism comes with the scene in what I hope is going to happen with this new circuit style. That is going to wrap up the video. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, as always, make sure you guys drop those down below and leave any questions there if you do have them, and I'll do my best to get back to them. As well as if you guys enjoy the content, make sure you give it a thumbs up, as well as turn on subscriptions and hit that notification. That way you guys don't miss out on any Rocket League esports news that we bring out daily. That does it for me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.